Welcome back to the Scotch Reviews with yours truly, Darth fucking Bools. Welcome back, guys. I wanted to try another video for Scotch Reviews. The first one I did I thought was pretty fun. It turned out it got probably my second or third highest views so far. So that tells me some people are interested. I think also more people that I know in the bourbon community may be interested in Scotch if they got a little bit more accustomed to it or used to it or had a little bit more information going into it. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. I've got my handy dandy book here. This doesn't make me a Scotch expert. I just bought this for myself, I think 8 years ago. It's pretty cool. It was a nice way to look at different whiskeys. It gives you a breakdown of where they're from, what their ABV is, what this particular guy rates them as, which, side note, written by Clay Risen, not really sure on the pronunciation, but he is one of the people responsible for the new Ben Holiday 18 barrel blend, which I will be getting hopefully sometime later this week or next week at the latest, which that's another thing, and I will be doing a video on that when I get it. But anyway, I recognized his name when I was looking up the Ben Holiday 18 barrel through Bourbon Lore. So Bourbon Lore is the group. It's like a pay-to-play, I think. Anyway, separate thing. So today we will be, I decided to choose one that I think a lot of people will, you can find it for one. For two, it's a very gentle, it's not very offensive in terms of as scotches go. So for those who are more in the bourbon world and want something not too crazy, not too outlandish, no Lafroig, no Lagavulin, no Ardmore, etc., all the peaty things that everyone thinks of when they think of Scotch. So today we're going with something a little more traditional, a little more well-known, name brand. Does carry a little bit of a higher price due to its name. And it is not Macallan this time, but it's what I think the next best version of kind of semi-generic Scotch that's actually still really good, but overpriced, is Dalmore. So this is a Dalmore 14. I happened to get this on sale from a Pete's or Whole Foods, Mariano's, I don't remember, for $65. So this is usually 100 plus, 140 plus even. And it was $65, so that's why I bought it. Let me read you from this little thing here. Dalmore Distillery was founded in 1839 by Alexander Matheson, whose family had made its fortune through his uncle Sir James Matheson, a leader of the East India Company and a prime mover behind Britain's campaign to force China to buy opium. But don't worry, in 1891, control over the distillery passed to Andrew Mackenzie, an enterprising tenant farmer on the Mathesons' land. The distillery grew steadily during the 20th century, with a pause during World War I, when it was used to make mines for the American war effort. In fact, part of the nearby harbor facility is called Yankee Pier. Dalmore began selling single malt or self malts as early as 1870s, and it soon developed a name for producing richly sherried whiskeys, a reputation it continues to embrace today. And that's true. So the last one I did was Glendronach, I did Balvenie Portwood. But Glendronach is everybody knows Glendronach is sherried whiskey. Macallan has a lot of sherried whiskey, Scotch, to be clear. And then Dalmore has a lot of sherry finishes too. A lot of Scotch has it, but I'd say those are kind of the big three off the top of my head that are, known for sherry finishing things. So this one in particular is not in this book. There's a 12, there's a 15, there's a cigar malt, 18-year King Dalmore Alexander III. I think that's all that's in here for Dalmore. Yeah. All of those you can pretty much find on the shelf. Cigar malt is a little harder to find now. That's about $150. It's a great one. The 15-year I think is very solid. I've only bought that one once. That one is a little more expensive. I want to say closer to $200. Or at least $150. The 18-year, I don't think I've seen that one. And then the Dalmore King Alexander III, that one is excellent, but it's like $300 plus. I want to say it's like $350, somewhere around there. But it's an excellent bottle. So anyway, this one, that's the other reason I bought this one. I've not had the Dalmore 14-year, because I'd had the 15, the cigar malt, and the King Alexander III. which I liked all of. But like I said, Dalmore kind of carries a hefty price, at least more so than some comparable whiskeys. But like I said, it is cheaper than Macallan. I think it's like the little brother of Macallan. That's my personal opinion, is that you get a lot of the same things you get from Macallan and Dalmore, but for cheaper, but still more expensive than probably 80% of other distilleries. So anyway, beautiful bottle. They have a nice, their thing is their stag, so if you're all about them stags in the bourbon world, then here you go. Got the nice little, I wish I still had my King Alexander III box. That thing is excellent. It had like a big mural in it and stuff. So cool. Very cool. Anyway, let's get to drinking whiskey, boys and girls. They, whatever you prefer. As long as you like drinking whiskey. Scotland. That was me ripping off Matt Porter doing America. But Scotland. All right. Excellent nose. Buttery, sherry. Almost like fig. Not sure. A little bit of something like a... I'm not sure. As you guys have watched before, I'm not great with nose. I'm just great at drinking. As probably most of you are as well. And we'll cheers to that. Anyway, check out the color. Lighter looking. It's I shouldn't say that. It's like fairly dark for a Scotch. This is also, I think it's 43%. Yeah, this one is 43.8%. Most Scotch, if you've not paid attention or ever looked at Scotch or don't know anything about Scotch, pretty much everything is bottled at 43% or 46% ABV, almost always. You can find some 80 proof, or 40%. You can find some cask strength stuff that gets up into the 50s, which is kind of higher for Scotch. Occasionally you can find some up into the 60-ish area, but it's very rare, not common. Usually things are proofed down, and if you're proof for it, that's fine. But I can promise you, in pretty much any Scotch that's under 50% ABV, it's going to have a lot more complexity than most any bourbon in that same range, and in some cases more complexity than bourbon, even higher than that. So that's just my opinion, man. I love them both. You can't pick a favorite kid. You can't pick a favorite parent. I mean, everyone knows you can. You just don't talk about it. But for me, I love bourbon. I obviously love bourbon. So, lots of good things. But I also have a lot of amazing Scotch down here on the bottom. That's somehow now off my bottom shelf. But Scotch is what got me into whiskey. I think it's excellent. I just don't drink it as much as maybe I should. And for that, I'm sorry, Scotch. I'm sorry. Anyway, like I said, kind of buttery, a lot of sherry. Like I said, there's kind of like a little bit of something else in there, some fig, some sort of like what I would consider like a jelly type fruit, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's have a drink. This to me is like where Scotch shines. It's got that like, it may not, well, let's just enjoy it. Okay, give me a second. Let me gather my thoughts. Initially, especially in the last week or so, I've not really had Scotch. I've been drinking more bourbon or beer. On the initial sip, I was like, you can tell this is lower ABV, kind of thin. But then as you actually roll it on your tongue, it has a great mouthfeel, very oily. that comes with a lot of Scotch because of its higher age statements. Pretty much Scotch, the lowest you're going to get is like a 10 to 12 year for the most part. Once again, there are youngers, there are non-age dated cast strength things, etc. But most any, flagship line or more premium offering of Scotch is going to be 10 to 12 years minimum, usually more. So, and like I said, this is a 14, which same as with bourbon or any whiskey, it could mean there are higher aged things in there, but it's only, you have to name it whatever your youngest whiskey is. So for this particular one, I don't know for sure. I wouldn't guess if there is, it's nothing super crazy. But I know for, like the King Dalmore, I keep saying King Dalmore, for the King Alexander III, I know that one has some like really, really good whiskey in it. It just also has some young whiskey, so that's why they non-age state it. But if you have the means to get that one or try it at a bar or are interested in Scotch or have had Dalmore and said, man, I kind of like that Dalmore, get the King Alexander III. That is an excellent bottle. Back to this one. Not sure if you can see the old leggies on there. Kind of. But the finish on Scotch, it's just a different experience than bourbon. To me, it's more dynamic. And that's, once again, that's a generalization. But I'm just saying, in general, I think Scotch has a more dynamic finish. And that's across the board. Because you do get a hint of peat, but it's almost like a faint reminder of peat. So you're not really getting any like smoke, that over the top smoke, campfire. Peat is what that is. You're not getting much, if any, on this. I know that it's there. It's there just because that is always there pretty much in every Scotch. It's going to be there a hint. But this is like a after image of peat. There's like nothing to be said of this. It's all sherry. It's all sweet, but it's got a nice kind of like a little soft burn on the back end, but just oily, great mouthfeel. As you guys know, I'm not good at notes, but for $65, $69, whatever this was, excellent purchase to me. Worst case, you hate it, you mix Scotch and Coke or something, or mix up some nice mixed drinks. I don't know a whole lot of Scotch mixed drinks. I just love drinking Scotch as is. But I think Dalmore in general, that's why I chose this one. Dalmore in general, I think, is a nice kind of entry-level Scotch for people that drink bourbon, because there's very little to no peat. There's no smoke fire. Like, even some Johnny Walker has quite a bit of peat. This has literally 1% peat. I have no idea. But you can look that up if you are interested. There is a PPI, something like that, ppm, peat per molecule, peat per milliliter, I don't remember, but there is a way to actually look up what it is. That being said, kind of like IBUs in beer, you can look at it, it gives you a general idea, but it doesn't always tell the full story, so there are some whiskeys that may be considered high peat, but when you actually taste them, you get a lot more floral, sweet notes, and the peat is just kind of like a contrasting flavor to that. So whatever. Anyway, I'm rambling. Once again, Scotch Like a Sir series, Dalmore 14. I think if this were at cost, I would rate it lower. But because I got it on a huge sale for, like I said, $65 or something like that, it gets better marks. I do think of the Dalmore I've had, I think the 12 is solid. 12 is on the shelf anywhere you want for maybe $60. This is a 14-year. Hadn't tried it. Wanted to try it. Pretty good. I think if I'm choosing one that I really want to have on my shelf, it's going to be the 15-year or the 18-year. I have tried. I've just never actually seen it, I don't think. Or the King Alexander III is phenomenal. So that's probably one of my top Scotches I've had. But that one is really, really good. So, but I would rate this one probably 7.6, 7.7, somewhere around there. It's a solid whiskey. It's also, this particular offering comes to me as a little boring. So there's not as much going on with it as I'd like, but there's like nothing wrong with it other than that it's just not super complex on the palate. So the nose is good. The flavor's pretty good. It just lacks a little bit when it's actually on your tongue. You get the oily, nice mouthfeel, but there's just not, it's not as robust as I would like in a Scotch. But either way, thanks for watching. Dalmore 14, Like a Sir series. Let me know if you like watching the Scotch videos. Let me know if there's any other particular Scotches you want me to try. If you have any questions, I'm by no means a connoisseur, but I do know more about Scotch than I do about bourbon. So anyway, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend. And like I said, hit me up if you have any questions or want me to try anything in particular in the future. Thanks a lot, guys and girls and days and dogs and cats, whoever's watching. Later.